headlines. The Korean government announces plans to get tough on child abuse at nursery schools as national anger mounts over a recent assault on a 4-year-old caught on tape. South Korea says its proposal for a round of reunions for war-separated families next month still stands, but it will not be making any new offers to North Korea. And Belgium is on high alert after 2 suspected jihadists were killed in a police raid. German and French police make a fresh arrest after the recent Islamist attacks in Paris. Hello and welcome to ARIRANG News. Happy Friday. Coming to you live from Seoul, I am Kang Chedi. Public outrage over a recent case of child abuse at a daycare center in Incheon is intensifying here in Korea, and that's our starting point today. The video footage of this incident is spreading like wildfire on the internet, and naturally, this has parents across the country fearing for the safety of their own children. In response, the Korean government as well as the ruling party have announced a series of measures aimed at protecting children. Our Park GeunHyes tells us more.
The ruling Saenuri party and the government announced on Friday afternoon a set of new measures to prevent child abuse. They proposed a new policy direction that involves shutting down childcare centers even one case of abuse in their history and stripping the supervisors and facility directors of their childcare licenses. They also encouraged childcare center operators to hire supervisors and teachers with stronger qualifications and to implement stronger monitoring systems overseen by parents. The announcement was made following an emergency meeting held Friday, presided over by ruling Saenuri party leader Kim Moo-sung and attended by the nation's Minister of Health and Welfare.
The Saenuri party will do its best to root out child abuse and improve the dire conditions at child care centers until a safe and happy child care environment is created in Korea.
The main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy party also launched a task force on the issue, vying to advocate for improvements in the nation's child care-related laws at the next parliamentary session in February.
We promise that our party will prioritize the passage of bills beneficial to the public at an extraordinary session in February so that parents can send their children to childcare centers without worrying.
The number of childcare centers in Korea has skyrocketed over the years, from some 5,000 in early 1990s to over 43,000 last year. The government provides the centers with some $5.5 billion annually. 10% of the facilities are public. The rest are private, and they are believed to be lacking the proper supervision. Meanwhile, the number of cases abused at both public and private facilities has more than doubled in recent years, from 100 in 2010 to over 230 in 2013. There are currently more than 1.4 million infants and children being taken care of at the nation's child care centers. Park GeunHyes, ARIRANG News.
There's a tug-of-war going on between the two Koreas, acting as a drag on the momentum for inter-Korean dialogue. The South wants to hold a round of reunions for war-separated families, while the North is protesting upcoming joint military drills between Seoul and Washington. Hwang Sung-hee reports.
South Korea says its proposal for a round of reunions for war-separated families next month still stands, but it will not be making any new offers to North Korea. The Unification Ministry said Friday the 4-week preparation process for the event will begin as soon as Pyongyang says yes.
Once there is an inter-Korean agreement to hold a reunion event, the South Korean government plans to begin the necessary preparations.
The reunions could take place as late as the end of next month, since the planned joint military drills between Seoul and Washington has been pushed back to the first week of March. But a postponement of the training exercise may not be enough for Pyongyang. North Korea's ambassador to the United Nations in Geneva on Thursday protested the upcoming drills, threatening another Korean war.
Otherwise, if we stand still, and if we are in the state of pause, then there might be another Korean War, the second Korean War in the peninsula.
North Korea's state-run Nodongshinmun newspaper on Friday also urged South Korea to end what it called a rehearsal for an invasion that is destroying the mood for dialogue. Seoul and Washington say the annual drills are defensive in nature, but Pyongyang sees it as a practice for war. And with North Korea sitting on South Korea's offer for more than 2 weeks, analysts say the current tug-of-war could lead to a loss of momentum for better inter-Korean ties. Hwang Sang-hee, ARIRANG News.
Now, despite the tensions between the two Koreas or the standstill, Seoul and Washington are pushing to strengthen their military posture, officially launching a combined wartime division. This body is tasked with military operations if a war were to break out. Kim Hyun-bin reports.
South Korea and the U.S. have forged the world's first combined division to enhance their joint defense posture and combat capabilities. 30 South Korean officers have been dispatched to the U.S. 2nd Infantry Division in Korea's central Gyeonggi-do province to join up with the division. Military officials say the current Combined Forces Command ensures strategic cooperation between the allies, but the new combined division strengthens tactical-level wartime cooperation. A 2-star U.S. 2nd Division commander will head the division, while a South Korean brigadier general is second in command. A South Korean mechanized infantry brigade will be combined with the 2nd U.S. Infantry Division during wartime, with U.S. forces in charge of operations and South Korean forces looking after logistics. If war were to break out, the division will be expected to undertake civilian affairs operations in North Korea, and it'll also be tasked with removing weapons of mass destruction, including Pyongyang's nuclear arsenal. The division will be relocated to Camp Humphrey in Pyeongtaek, Gyeonggi-do Province by 2016 under the Land Partnership Plan. The division headquarters will also be moved to Pyeongtaek, along with the Joint Allied Staff. To enhance interoperability and combat readiness, the Combined Command is scheduled to hold a joint training drill next week. They'll also take part in the Joint Key Resolve and Coal Eagle training exercises in early March. Kim Hyun-bin, ARIRANG News.
Korea and Japan will hold high-level talks in Tokyo next week, raising speculation about whether this will bring about an end to the current frosty relations between the two countries. Our Connie Kim reports.
Senior officials from Korea and Japan will meet next week for talks on resolving Tokyo's wartime sexual enslavement of Korean women. Seoul's foreign ministry said Friday that Seoul's chief delegate Lee Sang-deuk will meet with his Japanese counterpart Junichi Ihara in Tokyo on Monday. This is the 6th meeting of its kind, but the two neighbors still remain far apart on the issue. Korea wants Japan to properly compensate the so-called comfort women, while Japan claims the issue has been resolved through a 1965 bilateral treaty. More than 200,000 women, mostly Korean, were forced to serve as sex slaves to the Japanese military in the early 20th century, and 55 surviving victims still wait for an apology from the Japanese government. The meeting comes as the leaders of the two countries expressed hope of improving bilateral ties this year, which marks the 50th anniversary of diplomatic ties between the nations. However, challenge still remains for Seoul and Tokyo. In a New Year's press conference, President Park GeunHyes reiterated that resolving the wartime sexual enslavement issue was a precondition for her first summit with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe.
위안부 피해자 할머니들의 경우에는 그분들이 연세가 상당히 높으셔서 이게 조기에 어떤 그 해결책이 나오지 않으면은 영구 미제로 빠질 수가 있다.
Following President Park's comments, Abe told Korean lawmakers during a meeting on Thursday that it's regrettable that its sexual enslavement issue stirred up a diplomatic dispute, raising doubt the officials will make significant progress in the upcoming talks. Connie Kim, ARIRANG News.
President Park GeunHyes' approval ratings have dropped to their lowest levels since she took office nearly 2 years ago. Gallup Korea says 35% of 1,000 respondents spoke positively this week of how the president is running the country, while 55% spoke negatively. The amount of positive responses has fallen by 5 percentage points since President Park GeunHyes' New Year's press conference, suggesting this event did more harm than good for her ratings. A recent document leak scandal involving her office and aides may have also been a contributing factor. 2 out of 5 people said they're unsatisfied with the president's press conference, adding she lacked the will to communicate better and listen to the public. With the devastating outbreak of bird flu in 2011 fresh in everyone's minds, the Korean government has announced preemptive measures to try and nip this latest outbreak in the bud at the earliest possible moment. Shin Se-min has the details.
The movement of birds, farm workers, and vehicles at tens of thousands of farms across the entire nation will come to a complete standstill for 36 hours from the early hours of Saturday morning. This is the first ever nationwide lockdown on the transportation of poultry as the government tries to prevent the spread of bird flu. Korea's Agriculture Ministry says the movement ban will remain in effect from 6 a.m. on Saturday until 6 p.m. on Sunday. Some cattle farms are also on lockdown to prevent the spread of foot and mouth disease. That 36-hour window will be used to disinfect farms, buildings, and vehicles used to transport animals.
These measures will hopefully suppress the spread of the bird flu, as cases have been popping up in different parts of the country.
This marks Korea's third large-scale attempt to decontaminate poultry farms and facilities since the first case of bird flu in this outbreak was confirmed last July. Also, for the first time, the government will penalize farmers who don't abide by the measures. The maximum penalty has been set at more than $9,000 or possibly even a few months in prison. While there is understandable concern, the Agriculture Ministry notes that this is not considered a major bird flu outbreak yet, and the lockdown is just a precautionary measure. The bird flu is thought to come into Korea from migratory birds that come to the country during the winter months. There have been cases of bird flu dotted around the country, with confirmed cases found in Korea's southwestern Jeollanam-do province, the southern city of Busan, and the central Gyeonggi-do province. Shin Se-min, ARIRANG News.
A massive 43-vehicle collision in Gangwon-do province has left more than 20 people injured. 4 of them are in critical condition. No one was killed in this crash. This accident occurred at around 10 a.m. this Friday morning on a highway in Hwangseong County due to a series of collisions witnesses say may have been caused by roads made slippery by rain and sleet. Most people are probably signed up for at least one social networking service these days, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. But experts say spending too much time in a cyber community could lead to serious problems. Kim Min-ji tells us more.
Social networking services have become popular tools for sharing the events of daily life with others, and it's no different in Korea. According to a recent survey of 60,000 Android users, 40% of the time they spent on their mobile phones was spent on social networking services such as Facebook. People use these services to share photos and their thoughts on the places they visited, the delicacies they've devoured, and the interesting things they've read. But experts say it's not all good. In Korea, it has given rise to the term caffeine depression. Now, if that brings coffee to mind, think again. The expression is a mashup of the names for KakaoTalk, a popular messaging service, Facebook, and Instagram. Although it's not surprising for a person to feel a bit down after looking at a friend's photos because their lives aren't as extravagant, experts warn this feeling could be masking more serious problems.
The greater the feeling of misfortune one feels, the greater the chance it could lead to cyber stress. It could also lead to crime. A person could also become depressed.
Although participating in a virtual community may be a convenient way to keep in touch with friends and family, be careful of overuse. Experts say it could have a negative and even potentially destructive impact on your psyche. Kim Min-ji, ARIRANG News.
Europe is dreading more possible terror attacks on this Friday. In Paris, authorities have closed and evacuated a train station following reports of a bomb threat. And to tell us more, Paul Lee is joining us from the news center. So what's the latest development on this situation, Paul?
Well, the Gare de l'Est train station, which is one of several major train stations in Paris, remains closed with a heavy security presence around the site. A police official reportedly said it was a precaution to prevent fresh violence in the wake of the attacks by Islamist militants. But so far, there's been few details released to the media and the public at large about this bomb threat. The incident coincides with an official visit by U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry. He met with President Francois Hollande at the Élysée Presidential Palace, where he praised the French government's handling of last week's terror attacks.
It was a great lesson to the world, I think. And once again, France, through its commitment to freedom and to the passion of ideas, has made an important statement to the world. So really, our hearts are with you, and it's a pleasure to be able to be here.
According to the Paris prosecutor's office, police had also arrested a dozen people overnight suspected of helping the Islamist gunmen in last week's killings in and around the capital city. The arrests made in the region south of Paris include Montrouge, where a young policewoman was killed in the attacks.
And just across the border, special forces in Belgium killed 2 suspects and arrested another during an anti-terrorist raid. So this was one of several raids that were made overnight. What's the latest update?
Well, authorities say this series of search operations across Belgium is now over following an intense gun battle earlier on Friday. Police say they thwarted a major and imminent terror attack with the sweep that's suspected to be linked to Islamic extremists. Our Connie Lee has the details.
Belgium's threat level today is at its second highest point, level 3.
Complementary measures of protection and security will be taken for evident reasons that we are not going to communicate.
This after authorities there staged a counter-terror raid in the eastern city of Vevey. Gunfire rang out between the police and the suspects under the cover of night at a building on Thursday. 2 suspects died in the shootout and 1 was injured and arrested, according to Belgian authorities.
The investigation was able to establish that this group was about to commit terrorist attacks. The suspects immediately and for several minutes opened fire with military weaponry and handguns on special forces of the federal police before being neutralized.
Officials say the group of suspected terrorists, who are believed to have recently returned to Belgium from fighting in Syria, was planning to launch attacks on a grand scale imminently. Belgium is known to have a large Muslim population, and according to security officials, more than 350 Belgians have gone to Syria to join militants there. Thursday's massive counter-terrorism raid comes just a week after the terrorist attacks in Paris at the office of satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo, which left 12 people dead, and at a kosher supermarket where 4 hostages were killed. Authorities say, however, that for now they do not see a direct link between the Paris attacks and the events that unfolded in Belgium. Connie Lee, ARIRANG News.
And shifting to West Africa now, the United Nations has released its latest assessment of the Ebola outbreak in the region. And this, of course, as international health workers are working to curb the spread of this deadly virus. And after the massive influx of relief into this region, it looks like things are turning around finally.
Well, that's definitely the sentiment given by the UN Special Envoy on Ebola, Dr. David Nabarro. He says the pace of the epidemic appears to be slowing, citing lower cases of daily infections across the hardest hit nations, which would be Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. In an interview with Reuters on Thursday, Nabarro called the decline in reported cases, especially in Liberia, an incredible milestone, one that could not have been possible without the rapid response from local health agencies.
If this is followed by a very careful effort to identify cases quickly, to get them under treatment quickly, and to trace and track the people who are in contact with those who are sick and keep them under careful surveillance, then we will gradually see the number of cases reach zero.
The government of Liberia said it could be free of the virus by the end of next month after a reported success in curbing transmission rates. UN figures show that Ebola has claimed more than 8,400 lives in West Africa since the initial outbreak last year.
And in the U.S., two climbers made history this week after reaching the summit of one of California's most iconic landmarks in Yosemite National Park, standing at 900 meters high. This is an incredible feat, to say the least.
Well, El Capitan is widely considered the world's most difficult free climb. The two men used only their hands and feet without any modern climbing gear. Their near 3-week journey has been grabbing international headlines while also becoming an inspiration for people across the world. Our Kim Ji-yeon reports on this historic trek.
It's one of the toughest rock to climb, a feat no one has ever accomplished before. Kevin Jorgensen and Tommy Caldwell did it just by using their hands and feet with no professional gear. Ropes were used merely for backup to prevent deadly falls. The climbers reached the summit of Donwell on Yosemite National Park's El Capitan on Wednesday. After 7 years of preparation, the pair started their 19-day ascent, resting precariously on the face of some 900-meter wall.
It's getting pretty rowdy.
And then there were the dangers. At one point, Jorgensen was forced to rest for 2 days just so his fingers could heal. They were torn up from razor-sharp ledges while climbing the wall's difficult pitch 15, his 4th attempt. On Facebook, he wrote that he's learning new levels of patience and will not give up, try again, and will succeed. And he certainly did. The two climbers emerged as rock stars on January 14th, with some 2,000 people cheering them on site. They received hugs from family and friends and gained worldwide attention on their incredible journey. Even U.S. President Barack Obama congratulated them through Twitter.
So I'd love to turn all that attention right back around to everyone that's inspired by this project and encourage them to find their own Dawn Wall, because I think what's interesting about this project is that it has elements that everyone can relate to. It's a big dream. It takes a lot of hard work to make it happen.
Their experience is certainly an inspiration to us all. Kim Ji-yeon, ARIRANG News.
Inspiration indeed. And finally, taking a look at the technology sector, Google says, Paul, it's stopping all sales of its smart glass product. That's the not so inconspicuous wearable computer that you can fit on your eyeglasses. And I know you're a big fan of Google Glass. So what's your take on this announcement?
Well, it's not a big surprise. After an initial burst of enthusiasm when it came out 2 years ago, there's been signs that consumers were giving up on this technology. There was also a high price barrier to join the pilot program at $1,500 US. Meanwhile, Google says it's still committed to this market as it redirects its resources to other projects such as smartwatches and its Android Wear platform. Google Glass was the first project to emerge from Google X's division, the secretive group tasked with developing innovative products such as self-driving cars to even robots. Analysts say Google Glass and wearable devices overall amount to a new and at times controversial technology, one that will likely take time to evolve into a product that clicks with consumers. Cherry?
All right, so let's keep an eye on how Google keeps on clicking with consumers. Thank you so much. Let's leave it there for now, and we'll see you again in just about 2 hours.
Hello, I'm Kim Bo-kyung with your weather forecast. Hope you are dressed warmly as wind chills are making things feel colder than the actual numbers. Plus, rain or showers continue to fall in parts of the central regions as well as down in Jeju. Through tomorrow, the mountains of Jeju could get up to 5 centimeters of snow, and elsewhere, including Chungcheongnam-do province, about a centimeter will fall. Rain is also in store. Less than 5 millimeters will fall for the inland regions, so it won't be much. As for the weekend, tomorrow looks to be a clear day for most regions, but clouds will move in on Sunday, leading to snow or showers, and plus temperatures will also rise to higher than normal levels. On to Saturday's readings. Seoul makes it to 2, Daegu 6, Busan hits 8. On to other regions. Jeju makes it to 6, Dokdo hits 4, Mount Kumgang remains colder. Those are the updates we're following on this Friday evening. I'll be back with more after 10.
Thank you very much, Bo Kyung. See you then. And that will do it for this edition of Arirang News. Thanks for watching.